Starting. Good evening, one and all. Welcome to the Active Guru Show. Oh, it feels so good to be able to actually say that for the first time here live. A very warm welcome to you. And I can see there's already a lot of you here online. So if you want to leave your comments over there, I noticed Paul Coughlin. Hello, Paul. Great to see you, mate. And how you feeling after London Marathon, eh, Paul? I know you're probably still buzzing from that epic race time, but tonight we've got a very special guest, and one who had the privilege of filming at the Shakespeare Marathon whilst I wasn't down in London. That very same day there was the Shakespeare Marathon going on in Stratford-upon-Avon here in England. Yes, so for those of you who know, Stratford-upon-Avon, Shakespeare's birthplace, so it's called the Shakespeare Marathon, and I have none other than the winner himself. Yes, Orlando Corea. Hello. Good evening, Orlando.
Hello, Donato. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Have you ever had an intro like that, Orlando?
I don't think I have. So yeah, you're definitely number one on the intros.
Thank you so much. So without further ado, whilst people are tuning in, we've got quite a few watching live. And as I say, Paul's already mentioned. But just for those
Paul.
who are viewing, and obviously a lot of people will be watching this on replay, is just give us a bit of a background in terms of your running career, when you started, and who have you joined the club and all that type of stuff. Just a bit of a background from beginning to end. So I gather you've been running about 10 years, is that right?
Yeah, if I go on, just cut me off.
No, the stage is yours.
Well, 2008, my partner Adam suggested we did a half marathon, and we entered Nottingham. And so I hadn't even followed a training plan or anything like that. We just did some long runs, and anyway, it went really well. I ran quite a good time. And I thought, oh, quite like this. So I entered the Birmingham half, which was the first one in 2008. And someone said, oh, you should follow a training plan. So I think I had 4 weeks. And I think I took something like 8 minutes off just by doing about, 3 weeks worth of reasonable training for it. And then, so it just carried on from there. The next year I entered a few races, did the Nottingham Marathon a year later, because that's what you do when you're a new runner. You just do marathons, don't you? And without realizing how awful it was going to be. Shin splints, had all those sort of things. And then just kept doing my own thing. And then I kept bumping into people from Bourneville at races, sort of 2010, 2011. Because obviously I started finishing fairly high up. And they all want you in a club. So that's why I joined Bourneville. And so when I joined Bourneville, it really, really improved my times, almost instantaneous, just by running with other people who were good runners. Just pushing you along, it made a massive difference, because I'd been running on my own, just not training over winter, just following a bit of a plan. Hal Higdon, I used to look at his plans, but just running with other people, it just gave me an extra impetus. And so that's when I started taking it a bit more seriously. That was 2011, and then just kept running, entering more races, kept improving for a while, but then the dreaded injuries kicked in. Sorry, am I going on?
No, Orlando. I was going to say. So
I can't do 10 years quickly. There's too much to fit in.
So you and Orlando just decided. Oh, you and your partner Adam. Yeah, you're Orlando. Your partner's Adam. So the two of you just decided, let's go and run a half marathon.
Yes.
And you just rocked up and ran a half marathon, as you do.
Yes.
That is quite.
That's exactly what we did. We just rocked up and ran it.
So no training, no nothing.
Not really.
Went out there and done it.
Just a long
Is there
run.
anyone out there watching this who's ever done that? I'm sure there is, and there probably still will be. But you say you then joined Bourneville Harriers. Your times improved. Was it a fact of just running with other people who were better than you helped you improve, or did they give you hints and tips and things of what kind of training to do?
It was probably a combination of those. It was definitely, I think, what made the difference was just running with other people who were, like you say, better. So there was Dean Parker, if he's watching, Paul Thompson, I'm trying to remember, Gareth Cadd, Gary Blackman, and then other people joined, like Brad and Sam, Rich Bayliss. Don't want to miss anyone out. But it was just a really good group of people to just get better with, and used to just spur each other on. But just going out and doing that 10-mile Bourneville loop on a Monday night, things like that, I just didn't do those sort of things. I used to go out and do 6-mile runs. I used to just do, say, 10 mile on a Sunday, and then I'd run a couple of more times in the week. I wasn't doing a lot of mileage, but I think people saw straight away that I could improve. And so it gave me a lot of confidence. People were very kind. Oh, there was also like Rob Andrew and Steve James, who were sort of the gurus at Bourneville, maybe before your time, since you
long before my time.
But they gave me a lot of confidence and belief that I could do well. And then my times just improved really quickly. I think I ran something like 34.5 minutes for a 10K in 2011 in the summer, and then in Telford in December I did 32:50, and I just couldn't believe I ran that time. I mean, they could no one else could believe it either, because in training I tend to train very conservatively. I don't push it, and so I was always way behind everyone in training on the reps. From there on, it was just like it gave me a lot of confidence running with other people.
Right. So are you saying you just you've done that 10K in 34 minutes?
Yeah.
34 minutes. That was what year was that?
Well, that was 2011. So that's before I joined Bourneville. And then
wow, that is
within sort of
incredibly fast.
4 months of joining Bourneville, I took 2 minutes off.
Wow. I mean, I appreciate your modesty, Orlando. That I mean, 34 minutes. I'm sure there's a lot of people, and we've already got Chloe Richardson's on as well.
Yeah. Hello, Chloe.
Cole, yes, and I think you've got all your fans on here. There's also Alistair Rutherford.
Oh, you've met Alistair, haven't you?
I know Alistair. He's the running viola, isn't that right, Alistair? Yes. He's been on the show. What a small world we have here.
I train with Alistair a lot of the time.
Alistair's a top guy. He's considerably taller than me, and
well, he's taller than most people.
I think maybe we've got half of the because the club that you're a member of is Birchfield Harriers.
That's right. Yeah.
One of the top athletics club in Britain, no less.
That's because I'm in it, you see. It's not, honestly.
Chloe's some sideways smiley faces. I don't know how to do those smiley faces. And Alistair's just left an emoticon of cello. So was it a cello? Yeah, was it a cello, Alistair?
Well, the viola.
Viola. Sorry, I'm getting my cellos and violas. I'm not a string instrument fan. So Chloe is apparently # your biggest fan. So and Brampton Valley Runner's joined in, and I think he's a big fan of yours. Brampton Valley Runner was running the Shakespeare Marathon. Would you believe, with a 360-degree camera? What an experience that would be, eh?
You didn't want to see me at the end of that race. 360-degree camera.
And we're going to swiftly move on to the actual race itself, because obviously I did bump into Alistair at the race as well. Obviously, there's a lot of Birchfield Harriers guys. And for those who did see when I was at the finish, I was interviewing some of the other Birchfield Harriers runners. And I guess a lot of you guys are all very modest, saying, oh, we're just like average guys and whatever. But a lot of you guys, and I think Chloe was the lady who won the half marathon.
She did,
yeah.
She won it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember names. And when I saw her running past, she looked in great form. And a lot of you guys, you run amazing times, and yet you say it isn't that good. And yet I think there's a lot of people on social media, mentioning no names, if they were running half of your times, I think they'd be having kittens. But yeah, so Chloe is your biggest fan. And Chloe, I've got to say, amazing time at that half marathon. It's a tough route, but it's a tough route. And to win as a lady in a 1 hour 17, I think it was, it's incredible.
Chloe, I persuaded her to do it, you see, because I'd entered the marathon and she'd just done 75 minutes in New York, not that long ago. I think it was 2 months ago, something like that.
Okay.
And so she wanted to maybe get around that time again. And so I thought, if she can do the half, I can run the first half with her, and we can sort of help each other. And we did actually run, I think, the first 6 miles together. And then I just sort of moved away slightly. I mean, I wasn't far ahead of her, I think, at the split point. But when I sort of moved away, there was a group of 3 or 4 guys that were with us together. So I knew I'd left her in good hands and left her on her own.
Yeah,
anyway, she doesn't need me. She's amazing. But I was really pleased that she won. She deserved to win. And she got a really good time.
Brilliant racing from you guys. So it was like a double win for Birchfield Harriers. But what was great, so what I'd like to go through is obviously for a lot of people, and by the way, the time that Orlando ran in, for those who are watching, was a 2 hour and 36. Yes, that's right, 2 hours 36 for a course that is a really tough course. And I was filming there live at what they call the cut-off point, where the half marathon go one way and the full marathon then have to do another loop. And obviously, when I saw Orlando going through, and you were five in with a guy who'd been pacing, he was off to finish his half marathon, and then off you went into the horizon on your own. So it's not like a marathon major where there is literally tens of thousands of runners and there's people running in 2 hours. You were on your own for the whole half. Now, I don't know how you want to describe the experience of the race for those people who've seen it, because a lot of people really enjoyed the vlog, and obviously I was filming you at the finish, and it was great that you used the footage. I was very privileged that you used that bit of the footage of yourself, of a great memory that you obviously always have of finishing and the emotions coming out. But Orlando, do you want to talk us through in terms of, for a lot of people who watch, and we're up into double figures now in viewing, so hey, this is we'll be out doing I know these are people who probably used to watch the Jeremy Carr show, and obviously that's been axed now. True. But no, joking aside, sorry, what sorry, did I say that of a horrible program?
Yeah, we've just lost all our viewers.
Yeah, we're all just switched off, cancelled. But no, this is all really good positive stuff. And as I said at the beginning, I'm really grateful for your time coming on, Orlando. But there's a lot of people who watch, and I know that some of your biggest fans are here. And yes, so Cole from Leeds, this man Cole is one of I was going to say two twins, but obviously he's one of a twin. Yeah, so there's two of them, and they seem to run marathons every weekend just for fun. And Cole is a 3-hour marathoner. I think it's 3:02, but Colin, you know, as far as we're concerned, it's 3 hours. And your twin brother runs amazing times as well. You're both amazing guys. But these guys, obviously, there's a lot of people who watch the channel, and here I'll say Running Guru, Active Guru, whatever we're called. And there's a lot of people looking for guys like you. And I'm guessing for the ladies, maybe Chloe, and maybe we'll have Chloe on the show another week. They want to sort of hear in terms of what you did in terms of prep for the race. I know we talked through this, and those who are watching can see Orlando smiling. So do you want to talk us through from, was it 8 weeks before you decided to run it? Yeah. So talk us through the 8 weeks, and then the sort of night before and the prep, or the week before and the prep you do for the race, and then we'll go into the race itself. So it was 8 weeks before the race you decided to run this. So,
because
go on.
Well, I usually run the half at Stratford. I like it. It's one of the first ones I ever did when I was a newbie. Like 2009, I think I did in the half. I think I ran to like 1:23, something like that. And that was the third half I ever did. So I really like the race. So it's kind of always been one that I like to do, and it's local as well. Anyway, so I went to enter the half on the 1st of March, and then I thought, I'll just enter the marathon. I hadn't done one for 6 years because I hated the last one I did. It just was really traumatic.
The last one you've done was London.
Was London, right? Yeah. I mean, it was traumatic for me. Obviously, it's not a traumatic experience, but I just didn't want to do another one again. But I just thought I could do with a little goal, so so I entered the marathon. So that day I went out and ran 19 miles because I knew 8 weeks out you had to start doing your long runs.
So you just went out and done 19 miles, just like that?
About an hour later. I was going to go out for a run anyway, and I thought, right, I'll just do it, this 19 miles. And it was getting dark. It was obviously March, so it was short nights, and went down to Cannon Hill Park, and so it was something like I ran around there 15 times. Because I didn't want to run on the roads and breathe in all the exhaust fumes. I just wanted to get it done. Anyway, the last 4 miles back uphill into Moseley were just hell on earth. It was my pace went so slow, but I had to get it out of the way. And then the week after that, I knew I had to do the 20-mile run because I followed plans before.
But just to explain to the viewers, you didn't go from couch to 19 miles. You do regularly at the moment, don't you?
Yeah. So over the winter, I always run. I generally do easy miles. Run with people on a Sunday like Alistair or guys from Birchfield. And
you're a consistent runner. You just run for fun regularly.
I usually run about 60 to 70 mile a week over winter. That's usually what I do, and I go up to about 15 miles.
And that's all easy pace type
easy
stuff.
Pace, yeah. And then there'll be things like cross-country races.
Okay, so just clarifying to everyone, you've got a good solid base that you started from, 60, 70 miles a week. For a beginner,
I wouldn't have done.
So a beginner who's never ran before and decides to run a marathon 8 weeks before, it's not a good idea to just go out and do 90 miles. Okay.
Well, it depends what your goals are, but
I'll just put in a little health claim in there. So a week later, you've done your 20 miles.
I did the next 20-mile run, which was marginally less awful. It was pouring down with rain. It was like a blowing a gale. It was awful on my own, but I did it. It was a bit better than the 19-mile one. Then Dave Lawrence, who's I say coach. I don't really go to training at Birchfield that often, but Dave is the person who I would go to for advice, and he's a very kind, generous person in terms of coaching. Mentioned it to him. He wasn't impressed. He doesn't like people doing marathons, but he let me off. And then about a week later, he rang me and he goes, "Oh, I've got you a 5-week plan here leading up. You can't do a marathon, just doing easy miles and doing your long runs." I was like, okay. So 5 weeks out is when I started doing the a more focused plan, and that involves generally up to sort of 6 to 7 mile tempo runs a lot of the time, at marathon pace or just faster than marathon pace. Now, for me, I find that quite hard because you think, okay, you can run a marathon at say 5:50 pace, for example, 5 minutes 50 a mile, but I find it really hard in training just to go out and do that pace.
When you're on your own, is it? Or,
yeah, when I'm on my own, or even I just find it quite difficult. But
so, what determines your marathon pace 5 weeks before a race? Did you have in mind, or did the coach say, based on your current running, this is what we believe your fitness is?
Yeah, I know that I could probably do a 2 hour 30 sub 2 hour 30 marathon if I'm feeling right and I build up to it properly. So I wasn't building up to it properly. 8 weeks isn't enough time really, because it's the speed endurance you need, and so obviously 20-mile 22-mile runs at a fairly comfortable pace, that's what you need to do, but you're not going to be training at 20 miles at, well, I don't anyway, sub 6 minute mile pace. But I just knew, I thought I'd set a goal of 2:30 as just a goal to train at a pace out, not I'm going to run 2 hours 30, because obviously I didn't. Just as a goal to run. So I'd set those marathon pace sessions around 5:42 a mile. Right. And generally I did it once I started getting into it.
And how often were you doing those tempo runs a week? Because obviously you still got base miles where you're running easy runs.
Yeah, most of the time I'm running easy, but yeah, those ones would be say maybe 2 times a week, and then there'd be so say up to 6 miles or whatever. I did a 10K race, which I did in 33 something. It was running up a long hill forever. It seemed into the clouds. But
and still in 33 minutes. Wow.
I regretted leaving that one to the last minute, but it was a good race to do for strength. But otherwise, it was like 2 times a week, and then I had aches and pains, and I won't pretend it was straightforward and easy, because it wasn't. But I got through it because I had the base miles, which you touched on earlier. So I knew I could take that training load, but really I should have stretched that out over sort of 12 to 16 weeks and built into it, and done longer tempo runs earlier on, which I just hadn't done. I think the last long tempo run I did was the Birmingham Half in October, with 13 miles. After that, I hadn't done anything over 6 miles at all. Right. So that's not really good.
There's lots
it's not really what you want to do.
Messages coming here. Dan runs is saying a stunning pace that is, and Carl says most people can't even relate to this pace, so it's quite incredible. Alice has mentioned that the legend Pete Stewart is currently tuned in.
Pete Stewart,
hello, Pete.
Pete's an international runner. Him and his brother are just amazing. They set British records. Yeah, if you look them up. Commonwealth titles, European titles, cross-country titles.
Hello, Pete. We got to get you on the show as well. But also Den is on. So hello, Den. And yeah, there's quite a lot of people. And Paul's comment is saying that you, Orlando, you're making it sound so easy. How do you make it sound so easy? Is it because do you feel how do you make it sound so easy? Is it just a case of you have the confidence? Because running those speeds, 32-minute 10K. Uphill, that's incredible. I mean, I managed 40 minutes at the Great Orme in London. So you were like 2 kilometers ahead of me.
Yeah, but it's relative, isn't it? Because the best runners are way faster than I am. So I'll do as well as I can do. But I've just got confidence in my ability. I've been running 10 years, which we've talked about, and quite quickly, when I joined Bourneville, I started running really the paces that I can do now. And just through experience, I've learned that I don't need to train too hard for too long to be able to run at sort of that 5 minute 10 a mile to 5:30 a mile. I can generally get into that if I'm ready on the race day. But I've got to do some sort of training. I can't just turn up and do it. But I have got the confidence that I know I can do it because I've done it many times before.
Right. So what you've said is basically that the training can take up to a certain level, but when it comes to race day, you take it up another level, don't you? I mean, so you're
relatively
not,
for me, yeah.
You're not pushing, because some people train, say that's the race level, and they often train above that level and then come down.
Yes.
Whereas you're doing it, what I call more intuitive, where you're training below here, and you can take it up there. So you're reducing the risks of injury. That's how I'm interpreting it. Is that right?
Yes, because I've had so many different injuries, like lots of runners do. But I'm older. I'm over 40 now. I've come into running when that was the first race. I was 33. So, and I didn't have a running background. So quite quickly, my body started saying, "What are you doing? How are you? We can't keep up." And so it caught up with me. All the times caught up with my body quite quickly. And so 2014, 2013. Had lots of different injuries, but I learned from them all. But I definitely try not to train too hard, because if I get injured, you can't do the races. So there's just absolutely no point to that. I'm not going to achieve anything. And I love doing well on race day. And so in my head, if I've got a target race, that's the race. I don't care about the other races in the build-up. I just do those and I enjoy them for what they are. But like, for example, the marathon, when I knew I was doing the marathon, everything else didn't really matter. I just wanted to do as well as I could on those days, but I wasn't trying to run to the max at that race that I did, or when I did the relays. I'd love to go super fast. I just can't do it. I can't do what other people do, which is they can smash out all the races and then do well in the marathon as well. I've got to choose which one I'm going to target. Otherwise it doesn't work for me.
So you have to be selective. Something I didn't add in terms of the introduction. Now we've got quite a few viewers, and it's building up, as they say, up to the crescendo. I didn't add in, guys, that obviously I know, obviously with people like Paul and myself, were members of Birchfield Harriers, and Paul is an amazing athlete as well. And I know he said he's looking really to go for his dramatic improvement.
It's amazing.
Maybe watching this show has helped in some way. I don't know, but it's inspired some people. But Paul's a great inspiration, where he's now targeting his championship place.
He's going to do it. Yeah,
you've got a championship place for London Marathon, but also I forgot to mention that you are the current Masters UK champion at 5,000 meters. Is that right?
Not current, because I didn't run it last year, but 2017.
But you were the Masters champion 2017. So super fast speed that you do have. So that was the 5-week training. Now you're coming up to your actual race week. And how are you feeling then? Do you feel good?
I didn't know. Even though I had because I was thinking, I'll avoid all the the build up, and I'll just do this marathon. Obviously people found out I was doing it and I had this training plan, and so the real paranoia, they call it, don't they?
That's right. Yeah.
Really kicked in that week. Have I done too much? Have I done enough? Should I be tapering more? And I even forgot about things like carb loading. I didn't even luckily I saw someone put something about carb loading. I think it was Richard O'Sullivan. He was doing Blackpool, and I think he put something on Facebook or Instagram, and I hadn't even thought about carb loading. And so on the Friday, I was saying to Adam, we need to carb load. We need to have loads of carbohydrate. We had so much pasta that night. It was disgusting. I couldn't move. But I just had, because I hadn't prepared it really like you should do. But that week before, I was definitely thinking, I could hardly run either. I'd go out on easy runs. Obviously, you really cut your training back the week of the marathon. And every run was just like, oh my God, my legs were just dreadful. And so I was thinking, oh God, it's all going wrong, but it's just all in your mind.
it is. So what's pleasing to hear, Orlando, is everything that you've said. There's a lot of guys watching who get exactly the same experience, and for some reason, some people seem to think that. I'll call you an elite athlete, because you are. I know that you humbly say that you're not, because there are people past us. It's all relative. But for those of us who are running around 3 hours, 2 hours 30, people who run marathons in 4 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours or 7 hours, who have paranoia, for some reason seem to think that the faster guys and gals don't get it. But it's quite pleasing that you get it as well. We all get it, don't we? It's one of these things, and it's our minds.
Yes,
Our mind's
absolutely.
playing. But speaking of minds, I completely forgot everybody. I'm on peppermint tea. So
yeah, me too.
cheers, everyone. I think Orlando is too.
Cheers. Bottoms up.
Hello, yes, that's what we say here in England. Bottoms up, yeah. So, so you were getting all the maranoia, and it comes to the night before. Did you have any special meal the night before?
Well, we had a big lunch actually. We had spaghetti bolognese, homemade, of course.
Yeah.
So a lot of spaghetti. So we had the big lunch and dessert. Can't think what it was exactly. And then in the evening, I just had a lighter meal. I can't think exactly what I had now.
Yeah.
I think I had a big bowl of cereal or something like that and toast. Just something straightforward.
And then breakfast. So the Sunday morning, is it from Moseley to Stratford? It's less than an hour, isn't it? So
yeah,
So breakfast.
Breakfast, I just had what I normally have. I just had a big bowl of muesli with. Don't think I had any fruit and brown flakes. That was it.
So muesli, is that with milk or
with milk,
regular milk? Yeah,
regular milk.
Good stuff.
Full fat milk.
Excellent. Full fat milk.
A coffee, of course. I had a coffee.
Because there's questions coming in, and we'll go through those questions. So, Alistair, yes, I've got your question there, and Colin did say, "Don't try this at home, kids." So I think that the training plan you went through, yes, don't try this at home, kids. So Orlando is a very experienced runner to do that. And also, just to let everybody know, we'll be going through the 7 top tips from Orlando. What he's given me, I've got them on the phone here, and we've touched on some of them. So we'll be going through those as well. So bear with.
You'll have to remind me what they are.
But hopefully for you guys, you can learn from Orlando's experience and running a 2:36. So it's now race day. You've had your muesli. You're ready to go, and you're at the start at Stratford-upon-Avon, and off you went.
Yes. So yeah,
you were running with Chloe, who was doing a half marathon. So you paced each other. So you're going at a very quick clip.
We did, because Chloe, the idea was we were going to run at 5:40 pace. So we did that the first mile, and then quite quickly the half race goes sort of away from you, but there weren't that many ahead of us. And then we were with this chap for a bit from a local runner. And I think he got a bit excited in front of all the people around the town centre. So as soon as we got out of the centre, I was thinking, let other people do the work as much as possible. But his pace started to drop. So I then moved it ahead with Chloe, and we ran for quite a bit on our own, and then a couple of guys caught us up who were in the half race, and but I knew I wasn't going to do 5:40, but I wasn't going to push my body to do it, because I didn't go there with a time in mind, if that makes sense. I was just going to do a marathon and run it fairly well. I wasn't trying to win. I wasn't trying to run a certain time or anything like that. That was just a goal if I felt right on the day. So I felt really controlled and comfortable. Kept saying to Chloe, just run behind me and don't do any of the work. And as I say, we got to about 6 miles, I think it was, where Welford is, which is, I'm sure it's about 6-7 miles into the race. I moved ahead, and I realised I was in 5th place then in the half race. And then I passed the guy who was in 4th. And he saw I had the red number on, a blue or whatever it was for the marathon. And he said to me, "No one ahead. There's no marathon runner ahead of you." Because you don't know, you see. There could have been someone ahead. And so I then got onto the Greenway, which is about, I don't know, mile 10. He caught me back up, but he was running very controlled. There's a guy called Alex Jones. I think he does more duathlons, and I might be wrong there, but he to me was running quite within himself as well. It was quite good running with him, because he was sensible, and I was being very sensible, trying to run within myself.
Yeah. So when you're saying about pace, Orlando, do you look at your watch for the pace? And also you mentioned that you weren't having a goal in mind. So when you start a race, you're not going to say, right, I know you mentioned 2:30. You weren't going gung-ho for 2:30.
No.
You run on feel. So how do you combine the pace and how you're feeling? Are you and also with the mind games that the watch can sometimes play?
Absolutely.
How do you combine all those 3 things?
Well, again, I think it's just this is how I am in terms of running. I tend to, when I do races, I very rarely finish a race where I'm really upset or disappointed in how I do, because I generally try and run how I'm feeling on the day. So if it's a 10K race or a 5K, you obviously want to try and push it. But if it doesn't work out on the day, then it doesn't work out. But obviously with this race, I planned it a bit more than I normally would. I was just making sure that I wasn't overly breathing. So I wanted to have controlled breathing. And that's what I was doing that first half. I knew I could go faster, but it felt comfortably. It didn't even feel hard, but I knew I was, by looking at my watch, I knew 5:50 a mile average or whatever it was, 5:48 I think I was doing, up to about 15, 16 miles. I knew that's a good pace. I'm not, I know that that's a pace that I never run in training. So I know that I'm well within, and I know it's going to be very hard the last 6 miles. So I probably could have pushed the pace more and not, maybe I'm run much faster, but I wasn't doing it for that.
No.
So, but I've got to drop in that when I decided to do this, Alistair, who's watching now, I often train with him or run with him on a Sunday with the group from Birchfield. And he said he'd run the second half. He waited on the course. Well, he was on the course and I caught him about mile 15 and he was out doing a Sunday run. And basically, so I wouldn't be on my own because it didn't matter whether I was in first, second, third or 10th. You generally split up at Stratford. So I was running with Alistair from about mile 15 and just for company basically. But I said to Alistair, look, I can't go any faster than, I can't be paced to some time because I know I'm not going to be able to do it. So it was really good having him running with me. Because I'm dropping forward a bit here as well, because when I went onto after the split point where I saw you, and then about a mile later, there was a lead car. Now, obviously I've not run the marathon at Stratford for 8 years. And when I did it last time, I was like 20th or something. So I didn't realize there was going to be a lead car. So it was like really weird. It was really weird running behind the lead car completely on my own from about mile 12, 13 or whatever it was. And then I could, so I had the lead car and then I could see Alistair.
Did you feel like you were in the Olympics?
Yeah, it was quite a surreal experience. Going down a path after that split point when you're on the greenway and you're back onto a road again. You don't know where you're going and you sort of get sent the wrong way slightly, but you kind of correct yourself quite quickly. And then I just saw the lead car with the time on it and I thought, oh, I've got the lead car. It was quite like you have to contain your excitement because you've got to keep all your energy in. So I had the lead car and Alistair with me but we had to do a hill. Obviously it's 2 laps at Stratford, but the second lap is slightly different because you've got much longer on the greenway. And when I did the second hill, wherever it is, don't know what, it's about mile 18, that's when my legs started to say, you've not prepared properly for this. It started to bite. I didn't hit any wall. It was just my legs started to get tired from the constant step of doing 5:50 a mile, 5:45 or whatever I was doing. It's just started to get, when I went down that hill, it's very steep. That's when I couldn't do the pace anymore and it started to drop my pace and there's nothing I could do about it. I just had to stay calm and controlled and use my form and use my experience to get to the finish. That greenway, because it's 5.5 miles, I think, on the greenway, the second lap, and it was just awful. But it was a challenge because it just goes on forever. And then for 2 miles, you're completely alone because I was leading. And then when you rejoined the half course on the greenway, that's when you started overtaking the half marathon people. And they started cheering you on. So I was really tired. I was really fatiguing. And it was like, all you could see was this path going up. And you knew that you still had another 3 miles to go. And but what really helped was having Alistair running with me and these people that you were passing who were, running their own race, but taking the time to cheer me on. It was just a lovely experience. I was having to contain my emotion all the way up that greenway.
Because the greenway is the cycleway, isn't it? Basically, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought I've got a long way to go here. Yeah, those last 6 miles, anyone who does a marathon knows it's the hardest bit. But I wasn't hitting the wall. I was just, my legs were saying, I don't want to turn over. You're just having to turn your legs over. So I think I went down to about 6:15 a mile pace, which I know is still a good pace. But it felt much slower. It was a real struggle to keep going.
So what do you do for yourself? Because obviously slowing from a 5:45 to a 6:15, and you said it was feeling slower. It is a big difference. How do you psychologically keep going, keep pushing yourself? Because everybody slows down in the latter half of a marathon. I say everybody, a lot of people do. There are some people who do keep a constant pace, but as you've quite rightly said, that you yourself said you have done enough of the preparation, so it does catch you in the end, which is what a marathon does. But how do you just keep going? How do you keep yourself going? Did you start singing to yourself, or is Alistair shouting at you? Or
well, Alistair did give me a few sort of not pep talk, but just saying the odd thing every now and then. And I did want to say to him, "I'll just keep saying I'm doing really well," but I didn't have the energy to say it, so I was I was virtually silent. Apart from I was breathing okay, but it was laboured breathing because of just how uncomfortable my legs started to feel. I don't know. I was just constantly focused on my breathing, focused on what I just went into my own zone, just focused, deep breathing, taking the breaths in, and then just taking each mile as they came along. I didn't count the steps exactly, but I just focused on each step and each breath.
That makes
that's
sense.
How I did it.
A question that's coming from Den was asking, obviously, while this is all going through you, did you actually look behind you to see how far ahead you were?
No, never.
No. So at no point did you ever look behind?
No, because if someone had caught me up, then it would have changed my perception. And I think I had when I finished, I had quite a lot left in the tank. I was aerobic wise. It was just my legs were getting tight. I didn't want to have to pull a muscle or have anything like that. So you start to have to tell yourself to relax, because that's what I was scared of. But if someone then joins you, then you have a race again, don't you? So
absolutely.
So I would have been quite happy if someone had called me up. To be honest, it wouldn't have bothered me. But I never looked. I just had a sixth sense that I was quite far ahead. I don't know how I knew that, but I did it. It never even crossed my mind at any point.
So you've gone through the Greenway, and then there's all those wonderful over the bridges, under the bridges, and then zigzagging.
Awful. It was awful.
Do you want to talk us through that? I think it's the last mile or mile and a half.
Yeah, after the split point, so the half people, you run the same finish as the half do. So when I've done the half, it's great. You're bouncing along. Well, halves I can do my bread and butter. I love doing halves. You go down this path, and then obviously I'm overtaking all the half people, and they've got headphones in, and they're running their own races. And there was a lead bike as well. So once you got on the Greenway, there was a lead bike. So there was a lady on the lead bike, say about 50 meters ahead of me, asking people to get out of the way. So I felt a bit guilty, because these people are really struggling. They're being told to get out of the way in quite strong terms, because the marathon runners coming through. But most of them, 95% were cheering me on. But yeah, you had to go past them, and then there's cones on the side of a road, and really it's one abreast because it's the side of a road. But they were having to go on the grass verge to move out of the way, but some of them weren't. So luckily, Alistair was it was running about 10 meters ahead of me, kind of clearing a path. But they were obviously then confused, thinking Alistair was running the marathon. They didn't realise that he was nothing to do with the race. So they'd step back onto the road again as I was about to overtake them. But it was all quite quick. I was passing them quite quickly, because obviously they're doing 10-minute miles or whatever. You just had to negotiate around it as best you could, and it was hard. There was a bit where you come to the end of a path, and there's a stile, and obviously the lead bike couldn't just go over that. She had to stop, and we virtually ran into her. I'm not exaggerating. I had to stop. It was all split-second stuff, but it was quite funny. But I was in pain, and then you've got to run the last 200 meters or whatever it is. To the feet, and then the Alistair peeled off there and just said, just run your best. That's where I just forgot about the aches and pains. I just started to pick up the pace again.
So the pain just disappears, doesn't it, once you see that finish line?
I just forgot about it, because I thought, even if something goes wrong now, I can walk in. So you just sort of mentally compute that you need a finish, and you just go back into running as fast. I had quite a lot left. I was able to run in quite strong. I think my pace went down to about 5:30 a mile or whatever. I didn't sprint in super hard, but I did run in properly. I had Chloe and her family cheering me on. She took a video, which was really kind of her. There was loads of cheers when you sort of rounded the corner, and then you heard the announcer say, "Here comes the winner of the marathon." And it really lifted me to run in as well and give a little celebration finish, because I can't believe I did it. I can't believe I achieved the goal of finishing the marathon, which is the minimum goal, and winning it, and then also setting a personal best. Couldn't believe it.
Wow, I mean, it is incredible. And Chloe has put in a message there saying, "What an inspiration!" And you are a great inspiration, Orlando. I mean, you make it sound so easy, but obviously a lot of work and effort has
Yeah.
gone into it over the years. You haven't
Yes.
just
Yeah.
rocked up and ran a 2:36,
No.
just like that. But it's quite amazing. Obviously, seeing you there at the finish, it was a very emotional finish for you, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, because like I said, on the Greenway, even 3-4 miles out, I was having to contain like emotion because you were getting cheers from people who were like trying the best and they were really kind. And so I was like, I don't know, I just go into it when I've done 3 marathons before a long time ago, and each one was quite emotional. Like I remember you go into a different zone because it's so difficult. I mean, if you're an ultra runner, I suppose it's not, but for me, I find it very difficult. And so when I crossed that line, it was like all the emotions hit me. I was so tired and fatigued in my body,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
just the relief, and it was just all at once. Yeah, I couldn't take it all in.
It is incredible. I mean, and obviously you understandably, crying and everything. I mean, I was almost crying with you, and I didn't even know who you were. I just saw you winning, and it's one of these things where I think a marathon often, and there was a lot of people there, and it was quite random that the lady who won, Rachel, is one of our subscribers. She may even be tuned in now. I don't know, who lives in Stratford-upon-Avon, and she came over and we had a bit of a chat at the finish. Obviously, she recognised me, but obviously I didn't know who you were. You didn't know me or whatever.
Yes,
but
yeah.
It was amazing to see both you guys and knowing her background, your back. It is tremendously inspiration to see that, you enjoy your running, and you don't sort of follow the sort of traditional things that you tend to hear a lot in magazines and whatever, but you just go out and do it, and you perform on the day, which is
That's right. Yeah,
quite
that's
incredible. And you
yeah,
got a nice
that's how I
shield as
do it.
well. Did you get a shield?
I did get a shield. You don't keep the shield, but I got a trophy.
Okay. Have you got it there? Do you want to show off? I should have said beforehand.
It's upstairs somewhere.
In your
But yeah, we
trophy
got a shield.
cabinet.
There's a shield as well, which you obviously get your name engraved on, which
Yeah.
has got all the previous winners on, but they
Yeah.
keep that.
Yeah.
I don't want the trophy, to be honest, the shield. So it'd be nice next year if I do it to have a look and see my name on.
Yeah,
Things
yeah.
like that I like. But yeah, they gave you your own individual trophy. I know Chloe got a plate.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, there's a bit of prize money and whatever. But what's nice about Stratford, it's obviously it's not London. I'm not pretending that. Obviously, I know it's quite a good time and people would love to run that time. But yeah, at London, there was loads of people ran way faster than I did, and they deserve to, because London's a big event, and you want to do your best at London. And I'll hopefully do London again maybe next year, and I'll probably run slower and train twice as hard. But
I'd love to run London with you. I think my GFA will squeak me in, I think. Obviously, you're clearly in with a championship place. It'd be great to run with you if you can just jog along in front of me.
Fair enough, yeah, no problem.
Obviously, it'll be jogging for you at the pace I go. But Chloe's mentioned, and as I did as well, Chloe said she was crying. It was so emotional seeing you win. So there was a lot of us, Orlando, crying with you. And I do remember that there was Ben from Tamworth.
That's it, Ben Evans, yeah.
Ben Evans was there.
On the video.
And
I know Ben.
He said he knows you as well. So obviously you're a very well loved athlete in the Midlands area and very well known. So it's amazing having you on. So what I wanted to do, and there's some questions. In fact, I'll tackle some of the questions. By the way, guys, if those want to ask other questions, this is a simple one. It's not a technical one.
Okay,
good. And it was asked because there's been so many comments, I'm trying to scroll through. I remember the question was, what is your next race, Orlando? Someone's asked what my next race is as well, but I'll let you go first as you're the guest, Orlando. What's your next race and when is it?
Well, I was meant to be doing, I still might be doing it. There's the Christleton 5K on Friday night. Because I'm going to Liverpool for a stag weekend for Rory Grant. He asked me to mention him, actually.
Rory Grant, hello, Rory.
He works for Nike, and he runs for Birchfield. He's a brilliant runner, and so it's his stag. I'm not ruining the surprise because I know he knows we're going to Liverpool. But I'm still struggling post marathon. I've only this week started to run fairly reasonably again, so I think maybe I'll sidestep that one, and then I'm supposed to be doing the Birmingham 10K a week on Sunday, representing the England Masters team.
Okay.
It's like I got picked. I got selected by running 32, whatever, at Telford.
Yeah.
But again, I've not entered that race yet because I knew after the marathon I tend to take a lot longer to recover than the average runner who's like me, who runs my time. Some people go back to it really quick. I just don't. So that's the next one. So otherwise, no, I've got no other plans.
So the next race is the Birmingham 10K. Unfortunately, I'm away then, but randomly, and we haven't prepared this, the old 1-2 is I have the Manchester 10K this Sunday. So from Friday, I'll be away. So you'll be in Liverpool, I'll be in Manchester. But for me, it's the 10K, and I'm not going to be racing. For those who are watching it, I'm not going to be racing it. I'll be pacing my younger sister, who's with a corporate team to raise money for charity. So people do other races to raise money for charity. They don't just do London Marathon.
There are other races apart from London.
Yes, there are other races.
Well, just as a quick one, it's like with marathons, people go, "Oh, are you doing the London?" No, I'm doing Stratford. It's like, "Oh, right, is that the same as London?" It's like, yeah, it's the same distance as London Marathon.
I get the same
funny.
one. Yeah, everyone was asking me, "Are you off to London now?" I says, "No, I'm going to Stratford." And I think I've done Brighton, they said, "Is that the same distance as London?"
Yeah,
but
I love
that's
it.
common questions we all get, don't we?
Yes.
And Rachel is on. Yes, she is watching.
Hello,
the winner
Rachel.
of the ladies marathon.
Winner.
So congratulations, Rachel. We'll be having you on soon as well. And someone has messaged, Chloe has messaged Pete Stewart. Yes, Pete, if you are there, I'd love you to message me. And there is an email contact, or you can get hold of me on Twitter or Instagram as the Active Guru, I think my name is now. So we'd love to have you on. But Orlando and Rachel, I mean, she ran a steaming race, absolutely steaming, where I think she negative split, like yourself. And this is where both of you are very similar. Is no, you ran it with what I call you ran your own race. You didn't look at other people.
Yes.
And Rachel very much done that, where I think at the halfway point, I think she was in 5th position, and then just slowly passed the people through because she was running her own race rather than racing it. So similar to yourself, you know your pace and you're running that. So I think it's getting a bit dark in my room here, so I'm going to switch the light on. But what I'm going to quickly do is we're going through. And yes, Alistair, congratulations, Rachel. So RD at PT is Rachel over in Stratford-upon-Avon. So we're going to go through your 7 top tips, Orlando, and I'll go in the order that you have given them. And just to tell all the viewers, these are Orlando's. I didn't hint or tip or tell him to mention anything. And obviously the friend that you mentioned who works for Nike, neither of us are paid by Nike to mention Nike. No. It just so happens that the man works for Nike. So
it's a good friend to have.
Yeah, it's a good friend to have. So if he wants to give me some 4%, that would be very nice. But anyway, no, I've not tried them myself. But so the 7 top tips, I'll start off with number 1. And you can elaborate a bit more, Orlando, is you've said here, be happy for other people, even if they beat you or beat your PB. So do you want to elaborate on that first tip?
Yeah, I think it's because obviously, I mean, when you're in clubs like Bourneville and Birchfield, it's quite competitive when you go to training. And so people have like a pecking order. And a lot of people turn up to training and they'll blast out the training, but then they won't do as well in races. So, and then they might be disappointed that someone beat them. And I always think, just be happy for other people when they beat you. You can only run yourself. You can only learn from your own mistakes in a race or in your build-up. I would never wish ill on other people to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
If I didn't run particularly well in a race, I wouldn't want to feel better because, oh, well, at least such and such ran slower than me. I'd be happy if they beat me. It's not a problem. And the truth is, like, that's how I am. Absolutely.
I find it very refreshing, Orlando, in terms of your whole attitude and your positive perspective and happy perspective to running. It is brilliant to see. And obviously, I can feel a lot of love in the comments coming through from everybody who's watching this and the comments. I think you're probably the one of the most popular guys we've had on live on the show. So it's really brilliant to have you on there. But number 2, and this one piqued my interest in particular, is about, you say here, train smart and controlled.
Oh, yeah.
No point burning out in training and then racing badly. Less is often more. And I know you've touched on this through some of the descriptions. So do you want to elaborate on the train smart and controlled and not burning yourself out in training?
Yeah, I think it's, again, if you train with a group, you could have someone in that group a lot better. Like, say, if I go to the Birchfield group, for example, there's people there that win the cross country. like Kadar and Omer, or but there's loads of guys like Rory's really good. There's Johnny Gorringe, there's Mike Tanner, there's loads of them. And if I always tried to keep up with them, I'd be burning myself out in training. It's just no point. So I think you've got to, when you train, have people around you that you can work with, but always know what your limitations are and try and work within where you are at the moment. You might want to try and improve to another level in the future, and that's great. But to get there, you've often got to make incremental gains, haven't you, in your training, and your times. So you can't go from here to here, especially if you're an experienced runner. It just doesn't work that way. Once you get used to running and training, if you're going to make gains, they're usually smaller, and so you've just got to listen to your body and really train smart to what you want to achieve. And I think some people make a mistake there. They burn out in training and they leave it on the training, and they've got nothing left for the races. Or
because you did mention a lot of times that you'll train to there, but your race is up here, so you're keeping below that.
I mean, I tend to avoid a lot of group training because I tend to find that even like an old timer like me, you get carried away and you just push it too hard, and then 2 days later you can hardly walk. What's the point of doing that? You need to then train again if you want to prepare for a race. So I've learned from experience as well. It's not like I'm perfect. I've done this myself.
Absolutely, it's absolute common sense. And I did see another YouTuber. It's an American lad, a young lad, and he done exactly what you said you shouldn't do. And he said he got caught in a group, and he went hard, and then pulled his calf, and then was out for however many weeks.
Don't get me wrong. When you train, when you're running really well and everything's working and you're flying, then great, push it. But if otherwise, you've just got to really be mindful of where you are in that group, and don't be bothered if someone's way ahead of you, because they're way ahead of you because they can run a lot faster than you. It's easy for them.
Absolutely. And I love point number 3 is PBs are great, but not realistic every race. And I think a lot of beginners and some people who are watching, hello, Petra from, it says MO. I know there's a lot of US people now tuning in because they're all waking up. Sorry, Petra, I didn't mean that. And obviously Running Geek Girl, I know she's over in the States as well. So there's a lot of people over in the States now beginning to tune in. And we're nearly up to 20 people on it. Oh, this is pretty good. We'll be here all night, Orlando. Yeah, I don't need to go to bed, so I'm all right. Late start tomorrow. No.
They're probably all asleep.
I think we can keep talking on here for quite a while. And just as I said that, someone tuned out. No, we are going to go through these. So PBs are great, but not realistic every race. There's a lot of beginners out there who seem to think that they can get a PB in every race, which maybe as a beginner you will improve, but there'll come a point where you plateau and then go backwards. And then go up. So do you want to elaborate a bit more on PBs?
Again, I think it's just a psychological...
Keeping it realistic?
Yeah, I think it's psychological there, because you're going to be disappointed. You're setting yourself up for a fall, aren't you, if you're constantly having an unrealistic goal of setting a certain time or a PB. If you've just done a marathon, for example, 2 weeks later you do a park run. It's like, oh, I didn't do a park run PB. It's like, it's a park run. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Why would you be expecting to set a PB 2 weeks after? You're just making yourself upset for no reason at all. So just be realistic and just take it. Sometimes you'll just do a race or whatever it might be. And you might not be able to run that time, or that, you're running up a hill into the strong headwind. So you just got to adjust your goals on race day, or there's a number of factors. So, but the more experienced you are, the less likely it is you're going to do a PB. So just get used to that and don't be disappointed when you don't do it, because you're just creating, running should be fun. It should be enjoyable. And you're just making it into a miserable experience then. Absolutely.
Which comes to point 4 in terms of run slow on easy days, even if you're able to run much faster. So do you want to elaborate a bit more? Easy days, easy runs. What's your split between easy and hard runs?
Well, again, you see, it's probably because I'm an older runner. And so I'm just completely jealous of all these youngsters who can just fly out, do a track session, and then they might be struggling in the morning after, but the following day in the evening they could go out and blast, do a 6 minute 30 10-mile easy run. And it's like, well, that's probably a bit too fast. Hold back deliberately, do 7:30, because that's when your body needs to adapt. It's a physiological time to repair your body. It's not, you shouldn't be pushing your body all the time, even if you can, because you're just storing up problems for the future. It's not going to improve your times. It's probably going to detract from them, no matter how young you are or how fresh you are. I think that's just not how no running coach would say to do that.
I've heard of the
Please do
80-20
remind.
rule. I know Paul Coughlin mentions the 80-20 rule a lot. And Rachel's just said she was lucky she get a parkrun PB as well on the Saturday, I think.
She
before
did.
On the Saturday before.
Rachel can tune off. Go away, Rachel.
But I do know there are other people. I won't mention their names where they do deliberately go out on a. But I've got to stress, everybody's different.
Everyone's
there
different.
Are people who go out and blast a park run on the Saturday before the marathon on the Sunday.
The Saturday before, I can see people do. I mean, I wouldn't, but I can see that. Yeah.
No, I mean on the actual day before. On the day before they blast out a 5K.
Yeah, I do.
But there's very much that. But I was mentioning and we'll talk about a different 80-20 rule that you mentioned. But the 80-20 rule in terms of running training, where 80% should be easy, 20% hard, or at most 20%.
I think it's 10%, isn't it?
For yours, it was less. So keeping it much lower. So most of the training runs, and when you're saying run slow, should be slow. And slow is all relative. So when you say slow, obviously looking at a watch or a pace, I say conversational. Would you agree?
Yes, I would. Yeah, that's right. Definitely conversational. For me, that pace would be. I'm quite happy to run 8-minute miles. It doesn't. I don't think I should be running much faster all the time. You tend to find if you do an easy run with a group like Alistair or the guys from Birchfield, you'll then tend to do 7-minute mile average. Once you get into it, obviously the first mile's a bit slower. But that seems to feel easier because you're with a group anyway. So your heart rate is probably similar to when you're on your own. But if you keep it around, if I think I can do, if I felt good and start doing 6-minute miles on my easy runs, I just don't think that. I think that's counterproductive. I don't think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
For anybody.
Have you heard of there's different types of training to heart rates as well? Do you use a heart rate monitor to train to, or anything like that? I've heard of Maffetone method. There's some other methods which is similar to that, where you have a certain beat and then heartbeat, and your easy runs are a particular heartbeat, so you're not looking at your pace. But then some people who train to pace say, well, that heart rate translates to this pace, so it's the same thing, which really it's not, because as you get fitter, your heart rate goes down, doesn't it? So
it does, yeah.
So you run faster. Do you use heart rate monitoring for your easy?
I do, yeah, and it's been very useful since the marathon, because I've been doing my runs and my legs are starting to feel a bit better now, but my heart rate's way higher than it was, so I know that I'm not physically recovered. So it's really useful having a heart rate monitor, because I could now start running a bit faster, but my heart rate is going way too high. So I know that I've still got to hold back until my heart rate stops acting like it normally would do.
Wow.
Before the marathon.
And that's a big lesson there, Orlando. You've just literally touched on a point where I was out on my run this morning. I'd done a 100-mile bike ride on Sunday, and I was cycling, which is equivalent of a marathon. So I went out for a run this morning, and I was going at a very slow pace, but just looking at the heart rate, and the heart rate was rocket high. And then when I looked at the pace, it was much slower. So again, my body's not recovered. So
absolutely, yeah.
Thank you for highlighting that. By the way, Rachel has apologised about the parkrun PB. She didn't mean to.
We'll let her off. It's fine.
We'll let you off, Rachel. So don't worry about that. So I'll come on to point number 5, which is your 80-20 rule. It's quite. When I saw the 80-20 rule, I thought it was to do with the fitness, but your 80-20 rule is about be healthy, but follow. Unless and this is where I think we sort of resonate the same way. You're saying unless you're an elite athlete, and what you mean by elite athlete is your Mo Farahs and your Eliud Kipchoges,
full-time professionals.
Not people who run in sub-3s or 2:30s. That's fast club athletes, but you're talking elite. Unless you're an elite athlete, looking for every China gain, that the cake or glass of wine or a night out is not going to make any difference. So 80-20 rule. Do you want to elaborate a bit more on, your lifestyle and do you follow a strict regime, or is it just a case of just being relaxed? I mean, you sort of joke, says, "Oh, I haven't even carb loaded," which a lot of people, it's almost like that would be what an elite athlete would definitely do.
Yes, they would. Yeah, that's true.
I think
you do. I think everybody needs to carb load for a marathon, whether you're elite or whatever. Because obviously the glycogen and all that sort of the science behind it. So that's a sensible thing for anybody to do.
Yeah.
But no, I think more just generally. There's people I know and they'll go, "Oh, I'm not drinking for, I don't know, 6 months before I do a marathon, or Fine, you don't have to drink. Society, you don't need to drink if you don't want to. But if you enjoy a drink or a glass of wine, don't deprive yourself from it. Just have it in moderation. Just be sensible with it, because unless you're like a 100-meter runner, or where those point hundredths of a seconds matter, it's not going to make a difference. If you're 5 seconds faster in a 5K, it's not. You're generally probably going to finish where you were going to finish anyway, in a position wise.
Yeah.
It's just not going to make any difference. But just be healthier. Just like I think we spoke the other day about it. Don't have a massive pizza before you do a 5K race. It's not really a good. An hour before. Be sensible. When you're on race day or the day before, but you don't need to live like a monk the month before. If that makes you miserable. I mean, if you love doing that, then great, do it. But if you enjoy having a night out or having a glass of wine or a bar of chocolate, have it. But don't stuff your face the night before or on the day of the race. I think
the key thing is the day of the race. Although Chloe has mentioned here a glass, really, I think maybe you guys have a bit more than a glass. But I do have a good wine cellar. It's not the night before that. You don't go on a glass of wine. And I think some guy to tweet me where he had a whole pizza, like 2 hours before a big race. I mean, come on.
Interesting.
And he said it didn't quite work out, and no surprise there. But having alcohol or whatever the night before a race or the morning of a race is not a good idea. So what Orlando is saying is, in a 16-week or 20-week training plan, the odd day here or there is not going to make a blind bit of difference, really.
Probably going to help you relax.
Yeah, it'll help you relax. So it's good common sense tips. And I love that, Orlando. So that was tip number 5. We're nearly only number 2. Number 6, I love this one. It says, remove, which some people, surprisingly still don't do this. I've seen this, remove shoes and socks off soon after a run to help your feet recover. Do you want to elaborate a bit more?
Yep.
Is there a science behind this?
Well, there is science behind it, but in 2008, I used to work as in a property job. So I used to do a lot of viewings, and I used to walk around deliberately to get my steps in. This is before I was a runner, and I started getting the plantar fasciitis. And then when I started running, I used to, for about 6-7 years, I always had really tight feet, especially when you wake up and when you get up in the middle of the day, if you've been sat down for a bit. Yeah. And then I read online somewhere about this sock thing. As soon as I stopped, as soon as I finished a run and take my socks off, that problem went away. I'd had it for 7 years. It went the next day. It was instantaneous. So it's the first, get your shoes and socks off as quickly as you can.
So you've heard it here, guys. I was just about to give it a little plug. If you are watching, then if you're enjoying this and finding Orlando, please do give it a thumbs up somewhere in that down there. Give it a thumbs up, leave some positive comments and so on. I'm loving the live chat on here. But that tip, it sounds common sense, but so many people don't do it. Well, they finish it and they keep. You're tired.
Keep them on,
and you leave your socks and shoes on. You're sitting down having your recovery food.
I think, I'll just nip out and get that. Whatever you need to do to keep the trainers on, just get them off. Get the socks off. It's the best thing you can do for your feet.
Excellent. And then the 7th tip, again, this is more of like after type stuff or maintenance. Wash your sports kits separately and never use softener ever. It's destructive on technical clothing. Again, I'm guessing you know this from the science.
Well, yeah, I mean, technical clothing, you're not supposed to use fabric softener. It stops the wicking technology from working, but also it encourages bacteria to stay on the clothes. So you'll notice that people's clothes might smell if they use fabric softener. Often the sweat, the bacteria is still on the clothes. So just do a separate wash for your running gear. So and don't let it obviously get, if you have the sweaty running gear, let it dry before you put it in the laundry basket. Don't let it fester. Either that's a big no. But I always wash running gear separately. Okay,
and Alistair Rutherford has just commented that those are the 7 deadly sins that you quoted there.
Yeah, well, he should know. He's a sinner. He's a fellow sinner.
So, do you all religiously follow those important tips then? Well, do those 7 sins.
I do. I don't know about the others, but they might do now. Otherwise, I'm going to come looking for them.
Excellent. So that was absolutely brilliant. So as I said, for those guys who want to give a thumbs up and comments, but I think we could literally talk here all night, Orlando, once we've covered the 7 tips and questions from Lee. I just wanted to say, if those people who want to connect with Orlando, and obviously there's going to be hundreds of people who will be watching this on replay. Whilst my American friend Petra has commented it is 3 p.m. and there was me being a bit facetious saying it's they're just waking up. I was maybe meaning more West Coast down Seattle in the state of Washington maybe. But although as a random thing for you is one of my subscribers who lives in Seattle, Washington, is from Stratford-upon-Avon.
Wow.
How about that, eh? How about that? What a small world. And I know that he'll be tuning in. So for the hundreds of people who'll be watching this on replay or whatever, and I'll leave it in the comments below as well, how they can get in touch with you, connect with you on the social media. I know that you're on Instagram as Orlando Loves Running, which
right.
Alistair's left a comment on there. Are you on other forms of media if people want to watch your running stuff? I think is it right? Instagram is your main one of
running? Instagram. I quite like Instagram because it's like a running community, isn't it? You don't have to bore all your friends on Facebook with running stuff. Well, I'm on Facebook, but obviously that's just like friends, isn't it? But that you know, I've got a Twitter account as well. It's the Aero in Korea. So that's my surname is Corea. Yeah. But so it's just the Aero in Korea.
And what platform is that on?
That's on Twitter, sorry.
Oh, that's the Twitter one. Okay, okay. So
I'm not really active on Twitter, but I'm trying to be a bit more.
Okay. I mean, the social media thing is all lovely stuff as well. And Chloe's saying that we love you, Orlando, and left lots of, it looks like little pictures of runners, and other emoticons. And with my glasses here, I've even had a very focal. I'm trying to read what's going on here. It's wonderful stuff.
Hopefully it's clean. She's a good girl, though, Chloe. She's a nice girl. She's well brought up. Excellent. Shout out to her parents.
Sorry?
Her mum and dad are lovely.
Excellent.
Chloe's mum and dad are lovely.
Excellent. And no doubt probably Chloe's mum and dad are watching as well. I don't know.
Hopefully they are. Jeanette and Paul, hello.
Who knows? Sorry?
Jeanette and Paul.
Jeanette and Paul. If you are watching, hello, Jeanette and Paul. I don't know if you're in Moseley as well or somewhere else in
No, they're in near Worcester.
Oh, Worcester.
I've never been invited for dinner, you know. They need to make it happen.
All right, so not far from me then. I'm down in Rubery, Bromsgrove way. So there you go. Small world. Although I do remember doing the Pitchcroft 10 at Worcester, which was I think one of the good 10k races. But we could go on, yes. And Chloe's saying hello from Jan and Paul. So yes, they are watching. I think the whole family is watching, which is fantastic. And all that remains.
Oh, and Will. See, Chloe and Will, her brother Will is another amazing runner. They're both fantastic. They won the Birmingham Half Marathon in 2017. Oh, wow. They both won it. Chloe won the women's. Obviously, he won the men's. They're both fantastic runners.
What, like two siblings, brother and sister, winning? Wow, right. I better tell my sister this on Sunday when we're running a Manchester 10k to get her backside in gear.
They've both done cross country for Great Britain. They're just they're amazing.
Amazing athletes. I mean, it's been absolutely brilliant. And Chloe said little Will, so I'm presuming Will, younger brother.
He's younger than her, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Little Willie.
And there's a bit of a conversation going here with Alistair and Chloe.
Sorry,
and
Will.
all the family. So it's really good. I absolutely love this. I've got to say, Orlando, I've absolutely loved having you on the show. And I know all the guests who've been watching, tuning in and out from around the world live have been enjoying this as well. And for those of you who are watching it on replay, hopefully you found this really, really useful and give it a thumbs up. But all I can say, Orlando, is thank you so much for your time and sharing your experiences with us. No doubt we may have you on again in the near future as well to talk about, or we could do a group thing with maybe some Birchfield Harriers all together. You know, some people are afraid of coming on their own, and because we can have multiple chats and come up with some kind of theme and topic, and I'm sure we could. So I know that I had, when Alistair was on live, that you'll have to remind me, Alistair, because he was in Holland at the time. It was hilarious. We were doing a live chat and he was in an intermission, and other people from this conference were joining in, and it just became like a big happy party, which is what this channel is all about. It's all about enjoying the running. And it's fabulous to meet a guy who is not only a top athlete, but you actually do love your running, and it's fantastic to have it. That's why Orlando loves running.
That's true.
Do you want to give one last goodbye to everybody, or last tip, Orlando?
Well, I can't think of any tips, but thank you, Donato, for having me on. It's been really good fun. And thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm hopefully I'll have a good night's sleep now because you'll be really tired and bored out. Bored to tears.
Well, it's been I've absolutely loved this, and I've learnt a lot from it. And obviously it was a pleasure chatting with you earlier.
It's been really good.
And
I'm joking.
I've loved it. I won't say what Alistair's just said, but and everybody's now commenting that everybody's really enjoyed it. Great chat.
Oh, good.
So Rachel has commented, and Cole, Brampton Valley Runner, and everybody's on there. Alistair, Chloe, it's been great. It's been a really lively live chat whilst I've been talking with you there, and then looking to my left with all the comments flying through. And yeah, Dan, awesome chat. So we could go on. So everybody do give it a thumbs up and leave some comments. So when I close this, you can go and leave some comments as well. And I presume, Orlando, if anybody has any questions that you can nip in and out and answer some of the questions quiz, if anyone does. I don't know if anyone will or whatever, but if they have any key questions or hints, tips, or anything, whether it's to do with washing of your laundry and the correct way of washing it, and how many glasses of wine to have during an 18-week training plan,
how many you can get away with,
and how many can get away with, and the key thing is enjoying it and keeping it balanced, and it just goes to show with an 8-week, with a solid base of training for everybody who's watching. If you've got a base, because I've often said it's all about the base, if you've got a solid base of training like Orlando has, doing that 60, 70 mile a week of easy running, that you can then tune in a particular type of plan for a particular race with weeks to go. Whilst obviously Orlando did mention he did feel it, but 5 weeks, he's cutting it a bit fine for a marathon.
It was, yeah. I got away with it just.
He got away and still won, which is amazing. So I'm sure we're going to see some greater things, and you'll probably come with an even better PB. And if you do decide to run London, the very best of luck to you, and good luck with your next races and everything, and so on and so forth. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. As I say, I love having guys like you on the show, guys and ladies. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Orlando. Thanks you to the viewers who've been watching this. And it's been absolutely amazing. It's been one of the liveliest live chats that we've had in a long time. So thank you all so much for your time, for watching here on the Active Guru channel. And don't forget, I'll be next recording, hopefully, the Manchester 10K with my sister. As I say, I'm not going to be racing it. I'll be pacing my sister around along with the charity team there. But it should be fun. Manchester's a great city, as I know Liverpool is, where Orlando's going at the weekend. So there's some great places here in the UK, and good luck to everybody who's doing some races. So leave some comments below what races you've got all coming up next, and I'd love to hear from you. So enough wittering from me. My phone is saying it's now 20 past 9. So we've been on live for nearly an hour and a half. So it's been great fun talking to you all, and we'll see you soon here on the Active Guru channel. Thank you all so much. Bye.